say, oh, you gotta know what you're doing, boy. You know it's a whole lot of us in here. I understand, more. I'm a more. I understand that nationality is the order of the game.
Yes, it is. That's right.
I understand that. More and more, I am being guided to study more. I can't say that I love you, that I care for you, that you are my sister, you are my brother, taking the prefix BR off and leaving other, that you are my other self. And I do not act morally and righteously toward you. I cannot do it. I make myself alive. More and more, I am being guided to study more. Muslim. You a Muslim, Khalid? Yes, I am. But I'm a Moor. Islam.
If you hear, get your hand on my pocket in my lecture. No El Hajj Malik repeat, I betcha. Sergeant of the Moorish unified front toward Islam. Twist your arm like a blunt, won't spark it, but like Tiger Claw, debark it. Before anyone saw, not Cain, but I'm raw. Long live Iron Sheik, slaying the weak. Rhyming about rims, spinning on their Jeep. Making a mockery of the art and hard work put in by the veterans, now they gotta work. Guru in a coma, rap heart attack. I'm sure a premier beat would bring the guard back. Can't give it too much time in my rhyme, but I know mostly in rhyme they doing the crime. Build a ball court, a whack remedy. Living right around me is my worst enemy. I see that they look just like me. Award for hip hop when you're not an MC. Mastering the ceremony, very lonely. Rapping genuine, riding the beat ponies. Scrap the DJ and dancer like a phony. If you see me in some skinny jeans, you know they clone me. If you hear me rapping about crap, I'm Coke B. So do me like Big L or J and smoke me. I see some of my worst enemies live right around me and look just like me. I see some of my worst enemies live right around me and look just like me. I see some of my worst enemies live right around me and look just like me. I see some of my worst enemies live right around me and look just like me. If you hear I killed Assistant Grand Sheik, just know they're trying to get me down the Drew Ali road. Release me into the hands of Moors dirty, knowing that they conspire and wanna hurt me. Offering me dishes with glass splinters, so they'll give me a rod, leave my jacket in the winter. Try to get me through Sheikess with no weakness. Don't get it twisted cause you see us speechless. I put more trust in Jupiter KTS than fake Moors with more records than JVS. Telling me they save but just wanna be paid. Don't wanna pay dues but be men that's made. Pushing right to travel but don't defend, and only when backs against the wall they wanna befriend. That's why I watch no face and beg no friend, cause only Adam Chambers would be there in the end. I see some of my worst enemies live right around me and look just like me. I see some of my worst enemies live right around me and look just like me. I see some of my worst enemies live right around me and look just like me. I see some of my worst enemies live right around me and look just like me. Y'all so fly, no lie, so hot, I know this. Sniff your whack lines, you're so hopeless. Clones and drones, skull and boning. Getting homes for a loan and rims chroming. Crap shooting, watermelon eating. Mad cow, bird flu, chicken stealing. Human raccoon running through daisies. Selling out your race cause you're so lazy. Think you on a level when he owns your masters, and master is holding his guard in laughter. Thinking you're ballin', not me you're fooling. Armchair revolutionaries cooning. Hot like Mims, lynched from trees called Tims. Posing with your fat ass on covers of Maxim. Big fly eye shades under big brims. In some tight jeans you shouldn't wear, you're too slim. Can't stand your flow, we got me snoozing, drooling, falling asleep from your cooning. If I go to your show, it's me that's booing. Even if I may lay with my blood pooling. Go back to the essence with those old schooling. In the next realm I'm just keeping it moving. Don't need a whip, on comets I'm cruising. I'm the spirits, you need a bottle, stay boozing. I see some of my worst enemies live right around me and look just like me. I see some of my worst enemies live right around me and look just like me. I see some of my worst enemies live right around me and look just like me. I see some of my worst enemies live right around me and look just like me.
Now, alright, fine. Now, in terms of science, I'm not going to sit here and speak like Brother Taj Tariq Bey and give you a lot of history about Moors and so forth. Like I said initially, I came on about Brother Mansour Ball Bey and the nationality issue, whereas my organization I felt was slipping in terms of what they're not doing. The sister who I made reference to on that train ride, that is an oral story told in the Moorish Science Temple of America. The reason why I left her name out, not that I forgot it, is because I'm not at liberty to speak her name in the public for certain reasons. I knew what I was doing when I said I won't mention the name. But don't be offended if I don't mention certain names. You see? Now, if you want to come find out what her name was, come on out to the temple and they'll tell you there. You get all your answers there in terms of, that story is concerned.
Please keep in mind, people, that Noble Drew Ali came in 1913 to teach Negro black colored people that they're Moors. Noble Drew Ali himself, in the oral history, just like brother's talking about, there's an oral history of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Moorish Divine and National Movement. That oral history is documented in a book called Oral Statements by the Prophet. When we consider that in the oral statements, Noble Drew Ali said that there are no secrets, that he took away all the secrets, so there's no secrets. How is it that a Moor who says that they're down with Noble Drew Ali is going to tell you that he can't tell you the name because that's information that you could only get from the temple? Sounds like somebody's playing with your birthright. So what you're gonna do is you go do your own research, and the closest name relative to the story that he's saying, the closest name is Claudette Colvin. So just do your research on Claudette Colvin, and you'll realize in doing your research about her that they keep talking about she's adopted. So just do your research on that, but that's a name that so-called Negro black colored people need to know, because that proves when you research her, you will find out that she did not want to sit at the back of the bus with the Negroes. They weren't talking no black anything or whatever. There's documentation on the Montgomery bus boycott where they have sworn testimony, because that went to the Supreme Court. And in the Supreme Court records, there is testimony that the whole point wasn't about buses and all that. It was about not getting classified as Negro. That's why they didn't want to sit in the back. They want to sit because they put the black people back there. No, back there was designated for Negroes, just like that door was designated for black, and that water fountain was designated for black. And the idiot who thinks they're that is gonna cut his door instead of using the door that's there, because it's a slave mentality that our people have that they have to get out of. And the only way that they're going to get out of it is knowing what's going on. There's no secrets anymore. Brother even said that it's the age of Aquarius. So if it's the age of Aquarius and it's all about knowing right now and the age of knowing, then how come you're not giving up the name? What's the secret you keeping the name back? Of information that's pertinent to people recognizing, hold on a second, that happened? We never heard about that or whatever. You got documentation like that, you holding that to yourself? That's what we're talking about in the first video, about the sellout of the Moorish movement. Because remember, he said the key spy for the Inquisition name, Taj Tariq Bey. As soon as they talk negative about that name, know that they work for the same people that you're marching and picketing against. They work for them same people. And that's a fact.
Sister calling in. Sister, where you calling from?
Calling from Los Angeles.
Okay, Los Angeles. Everybody all over the world watching this right now. Let me just say this real quick too. For those of y'all who are tuning in, if y'all also have any questions pertaining to what the brother really came here for, not you, sister, because I know I'm just saying it now, but if y'all have any questions pertaining to the Moorish brother that got shot down savagely by the police, please call in and ask that brother about these questions while we got him here. Ask some questions about the Moorish Science Temple while we got him here. You know, the hot seat. Ask any question you want. We got him here. All right, my sister, go ahead.
Okay, first question is, are you saying we have always been Moors? That's the first question.
Have we always been Moors? So we're gonna go to our master teacher, Dr. Ben, because he's a master teacher. And our people respect the master teacher. So let's see what he identified for us with regard to the Moors. Now on page 690 of this book, you know the book, on front. You have this picture. The Moors, Africans, Arabs, Persians, Berbers. The Moors, Empire of the Moors. And then it says Africa right there. So intelligent people know that Africa, people from Africa are not Africans, they're Moors. People who study know that Africa has people on it. But because Africa is a continent, people cannot come from there. Because it's a continent. And when you go to that place called the continent of Africa, it's predominantly dark-skinned people. When you look up Moor in an unabridged dictionary and you hyphen black before Moor, blackamoor, it will tell you any dark-skinned person, especially an African Negro. So if dark-skinned people have been around since the beginning of time, and dark-skinned people are Moors, then that means we've been called Moors. We are Moors since the beginning of time. But we're not taken away from the fact that we are Africans. We know we are Africans. Not today, because Africa is a colonized jurisdiction that has nothing to do with that landmass that people call Africa. That's why we're not African. Why are we Moors? Because Moor is the last name that we fell as. Dark-skinned people that were ruling kingdoms and empires, had universities and had all these things that they built, monuments and statues, and we lost all that. Because what goes up must come down. And our fall was supposed to be a wake-up call, so that we can be Moors again, but do them under the 5 principles. When we be Moors, if we do it under the 5 principles, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, it's not going to be what the past Moors were. It's going to be an evolution of who we are, because we've never existed as dark-skinned people under the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice ever before. Most of the time, we're mad at somebody who we created. But we're not going to be mad at ourselves. So don't be fooled that you're not a Moor just because you don't have El or Bey on your name. You're a Moor. And you don't need Moor Science Temple to be a Moor. Because Noble Drew Ali, who founded the Moor Science Temple of America, told Moors that you are what your forefathers were without doubt or contradiction. And Noble Drew Ali said that you're Moors. Hyphen Moorish American, / Moorish American, little squiggly thing, Moorish American, you're Moors. Because man cannot be Negro, black, or colored.
Second question, why when we go back to Egypt in antiquity, which was ancient Kemet, we do not find any reference to being a Moor? And 3, I just have to address what you said about leaders who fell dead suddenly. Well, the Hebrew Israelites, the Islamic brothers who are Muslims, and the Moorish brothers all have like a poor ideology in life science. Kemetic brothers have the proper life-giving science, how to eat, how to live. So they don't like get overweight, they can maintain their weight, and they don't die mysteriously. They cure a disease and reverse that process. See, ancient Kemet is giving us what we need to reverse white supremacy, to reverse their eating culture that's a culture of death upon us, and all this stuff like homosexuality. So, I mean, what do you say to those 3 points? And then I might have one more question about that Moorish brother.
Our people need to learn to love instead of hate. The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know of his higher self and lower self. All these people calling in, they don't know about their higher self. All they know is their lower self. That's what it is. Because if we are gonna sit here and play this game that Moors are saying we're not Egyptian and we're not Cushite and we're not, you're stupid. Because that's not what we're saying. The point that we're making is that you cannot, as a people, claim a name that has no tie to antiquity. The Moors are tied to antiquity. How? Because the Moors are the ones that preserved the Kemetic culture when Kemet fell. Go get George G.M. James' book, Stolen Legacy, where he explains that to you. When Kemet fell, the Moors were the custodian of African culture, not Kemetic culture, of African culture. The Moors were the custodians. So the Moors are tied to antiquity through the Kemetans, and then going further back through the Phoenicians, and going further back through the Mu-Atlanteans and people who used to float and stuff like that. Because we are who our ancient foremothers and forefathers were, without doubt or contradiction, when we say we are Moors. When we say we are Moors as a people, we are making a statement to the world that we are the return of the ancient ones. Because the only way they're going to come back is as who they fell as. And we didn't fall. Our last fall wasn't as Kemetic people. Our last fall wasn't like Israelites. Our last fall wasn't like Nuapians. Our last fall wasn't whoever we claim to be. Historically, to everybody in the world, quote unquote, black people fell in 1492. That's when their civilizations fell. And after that, it was free for all for Europeans anywhere that there was jurisdiction of dark-skinned people. And then go do your research on doctrine of discovery. So you're not saying that we're not giving you sources to find out how you got in this mess that you're in, that you keep blaming Moors because we're not doing something. We're doing what we're supposed to do. You're not doing what you're supposed to do because you're supposed to proclaim your nationality. Because you claim that you honor people, but, well, let's hear what has to be said about nationality for a second.
Immediately thereafter, he walked into the teeth of a monumental decision. He was drafted, and then he refused induction on the grounds of his religious convictions on war.
My conscience won't let me go shoot my brother or some darker people or some poor hungry people in the mud for big powerful America and shoot them for what? They never called me nigger. They never lynched me. They never put no dogs on me. They never robbed me of my nationality.
Right? He was gonna say freedom, and he stopped himself. He was gonna say, they didn't rob me of my freedom, and he stopped himself.
People, some poor hungry people in the mud for big powerful America and shoot them for what? They never called me nigger. They never lynched me. They never put no dogs on me. They never robbed me of my nationality.
Why? Because he was taught by Elijah Muhammad. Well, what's Elijah Muhammad have to do with nationality? That was the early teachings of the Nation of Islam. Because remember, 30 years, you know, that's late to dumb people. But to people who know the history, 30 years ain't no time. In that period of time from 1930 to Vietnam War, the teachings of the Nation of Islam was based in proclaim your nationality. That's why they get rid of their name and then they have the X, because that's supposed to be a reclamation, but they don't know what to claim. That's why it's X, when really they should be claiming Moors, because Elijah Muhammad and Fard Muhammad and all the early people were part of the Moorish Science Temple of America. You can go ask the elder, who they always got on Sadnetter TV. Ask him how come when he was in the NY, why they have fezzes on and not that crap that they're wearing now. Just go ask him. You want to know about Moors? Ask him about Moors. Ask him why they wore fezzes. See what he tell you. He stopped himself and said, nationality. Nationality. Honoring his ancient foremothers and forefathers, because don't forget, Ali's a Moorish name, just like Noble Drew Ali. Ali is a Moorish name. How come Cassius X didn't stick? How come that didn't stick? How come he didn't say Cassius X when he went to draft? How come he said Muhammad Ali is what his name is? And that he has a religious right, constitutional religious right, to not be in the draft. He wasn't standing on religion, he was standing on constitution. Because that's the supreme law of the land, because that's what Elijah Muhammad and those guys were taught by Noble Drew Ali. And they taught it up to a certain point. And Muhammad Ali was the slip-in because they were getting rid of El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, who you know as Malcolm X. And this was the perfect opportunity. This guy's going to be the heavyweight champion of the world, and then he's going to be a member of the Nation of Islam? You know what type of politically powerful position that is for a black Negro group? To have a member that's the heavyweight champion of the world. And then don't forget, in the end, you know what I mean, he came out and said that they played him, you know what I mean, said what he said, you know, honors to Elijah Muhammad, but, you know, and then went to some different thing of Islam. Because he realized that they played him. But he didn't get rid of Ali though. He kept that. And then you see him with his fez on and stuff like that in pictures when he go into Mecca and all that. Everybody knows about nationality and birthrights except dumb Negroes who want to keep watching some other dumb Negroes try to teach them something. Remember, the tie that the Moors have to Kemet is in George G.M. James' book Stolen Legacy. Instead of buying smartphones, how about go buy some books? How about that one?
Pertaining to the Moors, brother?
Yeah, I just want to say, because the Moors, they're real big on this. You get your papers, you know your law, you know your Moor and all this stuff. Well, we see the predicament that brother wound up in. And the question is, he knew he was a Moor. He had his Moorish papers. You know, he knew where he stood. But
I will stop there. You didn't hear that he had any Moorish papers from anybody. You didn't hear that he had any Moorish ID from anybody. All you know is his name is Mansur Balbay. You know that Bey is a name relative to Moors. And that's all you really know. So, to imply that he had papers because, you know, you want to try to tie Moors having papers to getting shot. Then no one ever said that he had papers. Find me somewhere that said Mansur Balbay had Moorish papers in his possession. Right? This in your own birthright. Asking foolishness. Nobody said anything about papers. No news broadcast. Nobody said about papers. So how you know that he had papers? Nah, because this is a call-in show, that's one of their little agents, no different than what Brother Rami Salam El dropped about Polite. That Polite comes to the venue with 7-8 people, sends his little minions in the crowd to go sit in random seats or whatever, and then they get up and ask questions to Polite like they don't know him. Like they don't know what the game is. You know the game of this so-called Sonetter Studios whatever is to mock Moors. It's not about some info about Moors for people. You have some Moor up here. He doesn't even have a turban on, fez on, talking about he only wears that to the temple meetings. So obviously he's not a Moor that exercises his birthright. He's a Moor that belongs to an organization called Moor Science Temple of America, the religious blah blah blah, and then that's what they do. And that's no different than church or whatever, which is what the brothers were saying in the beginning about him sounding like a pastor, and then him defending it, talking about this is preaching. This is not preaching. This is not Khalid wasn't a preacher. Malcolm wasn't a preacher. Don't even disrespect them and classify them in your fraud middleman game. Ain't no middleman. Priesthood is dead. Priesthood been dead. And all these people still trying to be priests, holding stuff back instead of giving people their birthright. Knows that Sonetter TV, Sonetter Studios has a vast following of people. You're not gonna put your fez on, bro? You're not gonna demonstrate? I see pictures of Noble Juali with his fez on outside the temple, turban on. So what's going on? I seen pictures of Moors in the newspaper, in Noble Juali's funeral, on the street. Burr Oak Cemetery is not the temple. Now, Izzy Moore isn't there with fezzes on, so that are in the Moor Science Temple. So there's a lack of activity on this brother's part, which means that he's not credible. That's why we're not letting his answers play, because his answers are irrelevant. Because he himself said, I'm not a divine minister or a grand sheik. Oh, so you can't even talk for Moor Science Temple. You can't even talk for Moor Science Temple. Because according to Moor Science Temple, you know, the Grand Sheikh is the head of the whatever, and then he can tell people, no, that person can't have a Quran, and he can tell people, nah, we don't like that guy, he can't come, and all that type of stuff. When that seat belongs to the people, right? He's talking about the leadership this and the leadership that. The problem with the leadership. Why you show the people what the problem with the leadership is, opposed to just, you know what I mean, talking just because. Our people, until they start proclaiming that they're Moors, you continue to suffer. Chapter Magistrate and Subject. O thou the favorite of heaven. That's the grand sheiks and all those people. O thou the favorite of heaven, whom the Son of Men, thy equals, have agreed to raise to sovereign power, and set as a ruler over themselves. Consider the ends and importance of their trust far more than the dignity and height of thy station. This is what he should be reading to you if he's a Moorish Science Temple of America member and he's standing on Noble Juali. This is what he's supposed to be doing, reading from his literature to prove his points, opposed to not having any points and having people call in talking about where is your evidence. We're giving you evidence right now that what he's trying to tell you, but you know it's a secret because he can't wear the fez outside. I bet you that's a Grand Sheik rule. I bet you if you go to that temple, that'll be a rule that fezzes must be worn in a bag under your arm to the temple. Thou art clothed in purple and seated on a throne. The crown of majesty investeth thy temples. The scepter of power is placed in thy hand. But not for thyself were these ensigns given, not meant for thine own, but the good of thy kingdom. So everything that we do is supposed to be for the people. Right? And we talked about it in the first class. The fact that Mansur Balbay is now with the ancestors, that means his work here was done. Eric Garner is now with the ancestors. That means his work here is done. Sandra Bland, her work is done. And that was their purpose. Because we already know everything's predestined, so why are you fronting? That was their purpose. What are you going to do about that, their purpose that they served? You're going to keep playing these games? That nationality doesn't matter? When Muhammad Ali told you. You got Honor Khalid, red, black, green. He told you that you're Moors. Nationality. Has nothing to do with papers. It has nothing to do with papers. Being a Moor is not about papers and cards. Being a Moor is about your mind state. And if you have a black mind state, you'll never proclaim your nationality and walk into the marvelous light. You would continue to be in blackness. Where if I put you in a room of blackness, you will eventually go crazy. Ask people who've been in the hole.
How come that didn't forward him or allow him a better place here in the hills of North America with relation to how the white man views us and treats us? Because I've heard this before, and it's true that no matter what you call yourself, you're there sitting there picking apart how we call ourselves black when we should be Moors. But look, no matter what we call ourselves,
it matters what you call yourself, because we know dark-skinned people in European countries. We know them personally. We know them so personally that we've sat with them and did classes with them and put them on YouTube for the whole world to hear what this brother has experienced living in Germany as a black man with a black mindset, and then living in Germany as a Moor with a nationality. And the Europeans are telling him, when he verifies to them that he's a Moor, they're telling him they knew. But we only called you black because you call yourself black. Because nationalities is what humanity is based on, not colors. Nationalities. If you can't get that through your thick skull, stay Negro, black, colored. Don't even worry about Moors. Don't even ask questions about Moors. Don't even care about Moors. Go live your life as Negro, black, colored. Don't even think about Moors. If your skull isn't thick and your pineal gland is still throbbing, consider that the world knows about nationality. And the only people who don't care about nationality are corporate people, which United States is a corporate person. Negro, black, colored are corporate people. India, corporate people. China, corporate people. The status of our people being Negro, black, colored means that they are civilly dead. Dead in the eyes of the law. Look it up. Civilly dead. Dead in the eyes of the law. That is the position that you put yourself in when you call yourself black. Under the fraud that you're talking about your identity, when clearly you don't look like the chair. So if you don't look like the chair, then obviously you're not black. Well, black is the universe of... We don't care about the universe because that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about your identity. Your identity cannot be black if you don't look like that chair. Your identity cannot be black. If you want to say that your identity is black when you don't look like that chair, you're incompetent. Because, you know, if we go back to Mansour Balbay, at least he didn't die Negro. At least he didn't die a Negro slave. His husk was treated with the utmost respect. It was wrapped in white. And he had his fez on. In the coffin. Even in death, he's still a Moor. You know, fez means Moors, right? So, and there was no markings on it, no tack down, so he wasn't a Mason, nothing like that. In the coffin, had a circle 7 pin, everything. In the coffin, dead, he wanted to be Moors. And alive people, they don't want to be Moors. But he's dead and he's a Moor. In the coffin, but they don't want to be Moors. Making up idiotic arguments as to why they're not Moors. When, like the good master teacher tells us, don't talk about prove to me that you're not a Moor. Right? Show me that you're not that. Don't tell me you're not it. You could assume whatever you want. Prove that you're not a Moor. Because you're a Moor. And everybody knows it. And they're waiting for you people to stop playing this color game. How do we know? Because we're Moors. We talk to international community. They don't talk to you. All they do is sell you stuff. And if they do talk to you and they call you black, if they talk to you and they're from a quote-unquote African country and call themselves black, that's because they're trained to do that when they get their U.S. citizenship. They're trained to talk to black people just like how black people talk to them. But don't get caught up in that culture because we will deport you. That's their rules when they come to America. And they follow them. Don't worry about Amor got shot, so he's not protected. That's foolish talk. Because people die all over the world from whatever. What chimney fall on a guy? Oh, the chimney's racist. It was a white chimney that fell on him. Get out of here. People die. Like you're really defending nothing. But we'll let you do you.
We're at 1241 Walton. This is a scene that police executed a search warrant where they alleged that they found Mr. Bay located in his home and exit this back door. What we're about to do is kind of do a walkthrough and find out exactly what occurred just 4 or 5 days ago. Well, I think the police gave a narration as to what happened, and that narration just isn't plausible at all. So we actually want to give a correct narration and walk people through the narrated events as directed by St. Louis Metropolitan Police to show that based on what they said, it's impossible to have executed a search warrant at this house right here and find that Mr. Mansour Balbay exit this back door, make it 2 houses south of here where he was ultimately shot. It's just virtually impossible.
See, one point that I want you to make in understanding how the occupants of the house would know who was in the house, because there's no other way to enter the house but through this door, and you have to come straight up the steps. So there's no way somebody could be like downstairs and you not know it's a second floor resident.
I've had one occupant that would have actually been sitting right here on this couch, which indicates she would have known if anyone would have been in this house. And she indicated that Mr. Balbay was not present in this house.
And as you can see, the house is not that large. You'll know who's in this house and who's not in this house.
And they're claiming Mr. Balbay would have been in this house. Mr. Balbay would have had to travel, according to police, down these steps right here. This had been on the door the entire day. It has not been moved. To police, Mr. Balbay would have exited that door. To properly execute that search warrant, they would have had to be here at the bottom of these steps, which means no one should have been able to get out this back door. But since they say Mr. Balbay made it out the back door, made it past them, jumped that fence.
2 people, not just him, 2 people.
We're talking 2 police officers he would have gone through.
I want to be clear that we have not been given any indication of what fence they're alleging that he jumped. I just want you to see the fences.
Police say Mr. Balbay would have ran through this yard and through that gangway. If he was already in this yard, he would have made contact with police first in this yard.
How many witnesses do you have that say he was here at this residence?
We have witnesses that indicate he was not in the house, and then we have 2 witnesses indicated that he was in this yard here. And Mr. Balbay would have ran through this gangway. This gangway is roughly about 50 feet long, about 4 feet wide. As he ran down this gangway, he was shot from the back, where his body fell face forward, laying right in this very spot. There was no gun near Mr. Balbay's body, according to the eyewitnesses. And again, Mr. Balbay, at 18 years old, lost his life right here in this very spot. A young man who had aspired to be an engineer, had plans to go to college in the fall. This should not have happened to this young man.
Mr. Wooten's obviously talked to witnesses that we haven't talked to, and we'd encourage those witnesses to come forward so we can interview them and get their perspective on this incident.
Is he right?
Is he right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he's right that those witnesses told him that. I'm sure Mr. Wooten's an honorable man and wouldn't lie, but I haven't talked to those witnesses to evaluate their credibility or not. Well, as I said before, we're still looking for witnesses. Okay. He's identified other witnesses that we need to interview. For me to describe the evidence or what other witnesses have described could taint their recollection of the event, and I don't want to do that.
You can't. I want to tell you the funeral arrangements for Mr. Mansour Balbay, which will be this coming Saturday at Christ Pilgrim's Rest Church, which is 1341 North Kings Highway. There will be a viewing of his body from 9:30 to 10:30, and then the funeral will start at 10:30, and it's open to the public and to the press.
I'm more or less, I've noticed what seems to be, no disrespect, big bro, Mr. Roy Bay, but it seems to be some contradictions I've heard, not necessarily full contradictions, but it just seems to link, some of your statements seem to lean in toward each other a little bit. For instance, you seem to know a little bit about the knowledge of Kemet, as far as, let's say, for instance, the Lord of the Perfect Black goes. But my thing is, if you can take those teachings into consideration, if you're not taking those teachers into consideration, if they supersede your previous knowledge or whatever, what does that mean? Shouldn't you conform to a new reality once it's introduced to you and you realize that it supersedes your own? That's the first part of my question, right? But I mean, because that's where I'm at right now. It was a point in time where I thought Christianity was the way until I happened to be on YouTube one day and boom, oh, that's what happened. So I conformed to a new reality once I realized that this knowledge supersedes that knowledge. So my next question.
Now, if Kemet fell, we know Kemet fell. We know Timbuktu fell. We know Carthage fell. We know all these empires of dark-skinned people fell. And the last group of dark-skinned people to hold the torch of their ancient foremothers and forefathers were and are the Moors. It clearly sounds like Moors supersede Kemet, because Kemet fell. So if they fell, then... But the Moors fell in 1492. Oh, no. The Moors' stronghold in Spain fell in 1492. After 1492, all the Europeans did was occupy after that. They didn't go conquering anywhere else. They started occupying. Again, because of the doctrine of discovery, that you go research that document so you can know what these individuals that you call the white man are doing to have jurisdiction over you. Just keep it in mind that if you were a Christian and then that wasn't right, so you conformed to a new reality because you went on YouTube and you seen something, you should be conforming to the reality that nationality is the order of the day, because you haven't had a nationality for so long, and it's been proved that being stateless means that you are going to receive certain treatment. We know that you would receive certain treatment if you're stateless. Why? Because we have a track record of 400 years of slavery that's what happened to you for being stateless. So what more do you want? To conform, to have a reason to conform. You've been the same thing for over 400 years, and the same conditions are still happening to you, and the same sellouts keep bringing the same remedy. But you're not going to conform though. You're just going to stay. Well, cool, do your thing. Stay there. We'll let you do you.
It would be about, what was that, black? Oh, the black. I was wondering why Moors have such a problem with calling themselves black.
The reason why Moors have such a problem calling themselves black is because, according to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family. Why? Because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of ancient Canaanites. What you have to understand is what you are, your ancient forefathers were, and what your ancient forefathers were, you are. No individual on the planet is able to change you from your descendant nature of your forefathers and foremothers. The only way that they can do that is if their power extends beyond whoever you consider or whatever you consider the creator, the higher force or whatever. The only way that you can change your descendant nature of your foremothers and forefathers is if the one changing you from your descendant nature of your forefathers and foremothers, their hand is longer than whoever you consider God's hand. That's why we don't call ourselves black. And that's why we implore you not to do that. Because you class yourself as below the beast of the field when you call yourself black. And we're not just talking because you don't look like the chair. That's one strike. The other strike is that is a slave brand. As far as identity is concerned, don't tell me about the universe. Don't tell me about the blackness of Mother Earth. Don't tell me about the blackness of the womb. We're not talking about wombs right now. We're not talking about the universe right now. We're not talking about the depth of the ocean right now. We're not talking about Mother Earth right now. We're talking about our identity as a people. And that our identity cannot be black. So stop saying I'm black. And black people. And black community. Because anything with reference to people that is not dealing with nationality is a brand, a tag. And what you do with tags, if they're scratching your back, you tear them off or cut them off or whatever. And you do not care about tags. You don't want to be tags. You want to have a nationality.
They say, oh, you got to know what you're doing, boy. You know it's a whole lot of us in here. I understand, more. I'm a more. I understand that nationality is the order of the day. I understand that. More and more, I am being guided to study more. I can't say that I love you, that I care for you, that you are my sister, you are my brother, taking the prefix BR off and leaving other, that you are my other self. And I do not act morally and righteously toward you. I cannot do it. I make myself alive. More and more, I am being guided to study more. Muslim. Are you a Muslim, Khalid? Yes, I am. But I'm a Moor. Islam.